UFC 250 was a big night and a very important night for a number of reasons. Of course, the fights delivered inside the cage, but some of the message that were sent out of it and throughout the night may have eclipsed the action inside the octagon. And a big reason I say that is because of the man joining me right now who picked up a big win over Alonzo Menafield on Saturday night. Devin Clark joins the program. It's been a couple of years since we've chatted, Devin. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. Doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. First things first, how are you feeling after that fight? I know your eye was in pretty bad shape. We can kind of see some of the remnants of that right now, but how are you feeling a few days after that fight?
I'm feeling all right. A little bit tired and still a bit exhausted. I did fracture my orbital bone in the first round, and then I had to stay an extra day in Vegas just to kind of recover. And I drove my truck to Vegas from Albuquerque, so I had to drive back to South Dakota the last couple of days.
And how was that drive with a fractured orbital?
It was different. It was different, but not too bad. We made it. Me and my dad. So.
Oh, God. I can't wait to talk about your dad in a little bit. But Alonzo, obviously, big, powerful guy. He finished all 9 of his previous fights, never got past the first minute of the second round in his career. And that eye injury happened in the first round. At least it was just a nasty uppercut that seemed to have done the damage. You were able to hang on, get the fight to the mat, and survive that onslaught. How hurt were you in that first round?
Really hurt. Really, really hurt. Everything in me wanted to quit. And then I was then training kicked in, just being there before, mentally being ready. Going into this fight, I was mentally ready to get hit the hardest I've ever been hit. My coach kept saying to me, Chad Smith, he kept saying to me, and we just kind of had that in our mind that, we're going to get hit really hard by this guy, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to suck, and we're going to push through it. So we had a lot of find the line moments where we pushed through stuff in camp, and it worked during the fight. Even I didn't think I would get hit that hard, but it happened.
Was that the hardest you had been hit in a fight?
Definitely. The other one was Jan Blachowicz when he kicked me in the ribs, but this took the cake. This was a lot worse.
Alonzo, big, powerful guy, and he's going to take a lot away from those 15 minutes. Sharing the octagon with you will likely be one of the most, if not the most important moments of his career because of where it could take him. It's either going to take him down a bad road or he's going to take all the lessons he learned and turn it into something positive. But what did you take away from that fight with a highly touted prospect like that on Saturday?
Just how dangerous that I can be when I'm confident in my skills and what I bring to the table. When I don't wait for the opponent to make his decisions I don't wait for him to do my striking. I just went in there and forced him to fight my way. And I know he didn't want to fight how he fought. But that all changed when I came out there right away in the first round, threatened the takedown. And from that point on, he did not want to get taken down. He was scared of taking, so he tried to put me on the fence the whole time, and it ended up backfiring because he didn't do anything with it.
I've talked a lot about this since Saturday night, and you mentioned it. I'm very excited to discuss this right now. In fact, I went on a big rant about this on the MMA Fighting post-fight show after the event. The UFC should have given out a 5th performance bonus on Saturday night. And with all due respect to your performance, sir, your dad was the man who should have gotten it. I mean, my God, he may be my favorite thing about the empty arena fight so far, with his cornering, the yelling and the screaming. I mean, it was just amazing to listen to. How much did having him there on Saturday night impact that fight?
Who knows? He's there every fight. So, and he's like that every fight. Usually you just can't hear it as good, but it was on full. Everybody saw it that night, and it was such an intimate venue there. And it was perfect. It didn't really seem like there was no audience because he was so loud and he brought so much intensity with it. And that's one of the things he does. That's why he's in my corner. He brings that intensity that sometimes I just don't have. I'm not a violent person. I've never been in a street fight. Sometimes I don't have that intensity. And he's really good at bringing it out in me one way or another. He showed up for sure.
Well, if him sitting shotgun while you're driving back to South Dakota, there's no way you weren't making it back. There's no way.
Yeah, it was definitely focused.
Does he do any like motivational speaking or like YouTube videos or anything like that? Because I will buy whatever that man is selling.
He doesn't, but he definitely should. And but he's like that. He's been like that my whole life, ever since I can remember, doing football, baseball, wrestling, growing up. He just has a way of motivating in a very, and not all athletes can handle it, but motivating you in a way to make you want to do it, whether you get pissed at him or not. And a lot of times that's where mine comes. I'll get pissed. We get in arguments all the time. And we actually got into it the day of weigh-ins, morning, about an hour and a half before weigh-ins. We had a little disagreement. He came into the room and he had his camera on, and I'm cutting weight and I'm hitting pads. I had so much energy. I don't know why I had energy, but I was hitting pads to cut weight. And this is the morning of weigh-ins. And I'm in the zone. He comes in the room and he's got his video on. He's talking to a buddy or something. And I'm just a complete dick about it. I was like, what are you doing? Turn that off. Turn that video off. And I was just in that zone, and it clicked for him too. And he's like, what the fuck? You know, he went off. So I went off, and we got in each other's faces. And like, it was a pretty intense moment. And then it almost went down. He would never hit me, but it was an intense moment. And then he left the room and came back about a minute and a half later. It's like, okay, let's work. And I had some of the best pad rounds ever right there. So it's just little stuff like that where we'll get in arguments. He'll say something to piss me off, but it's almost purposeful, and he has a meaning behind it, and it gets me fired up every time. And he's done it my whole life. Sometimes I don't like it, but it's just that's our relationship.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have an amazing bond. It's almost like you're like your father and son, but you're also like brothers too, in a way.
Yeah.
You were in the news everywhere on Saturday night because what you did before the fight and after the fight. You were on CNN. I mean, you were all over the place. In the intro, when Bruce Buffer was announcing you dropped to a knee and you raised your fist in the air. And then after the fight, you stood next to the rest of your team and you guys collectively raised your fists in the air once again. And it's obviously a very crazy time in the world and in the country, has been all year with COVID, and now with the injustice going on in the wake of George Floyd's death in Minneapolis, thanks to members of the police department not doing what they said they would do when they took their oath to the position. I know you weren't part of the virtual media day on Thursday. You didn't get a chance to speak with the media after the fight either because you went to the hospital. First off, how important was it for you to choose those moments to make your first real statements about what's going on in the country? And second, did you expect it to spread as much as it did?
I chose to do it. It felt like the right thing to do. And I had a fight to focus on when kind of all this stuff was starting to go down. And so I wasn't able to be as active as I wanted to be, to let my voice be heard. I couldn't protest as much and stuff like that and really dig into it because I had the fight coming up. So I knew I would have an opportunity when my name would be announced. And I didn't really I think I told one person that I was going to do it. And I didn't even think whether it was going to be a big deal or not, or if people are going to get mad or that it would be some kind of news deal. It's just something that I knew that's how I could show my support and for the people that feel like they don't have a voice right now, and that's black, white, or other. So it was just one of those things. I felt like I had to do it.
I know John Jones, your teammate, was out taking spray cans away from people trying to vandalize downtown Albuquerque. And then, he took the next day to try to rebuild the community. He was out talking to the police and all that stuff. When you see John out there doing what he was doing, he's obviously one of the biggest names in the sport. That's got to feel good for you, knowing that he's one of your teammates and he's trying to get out there and do his best work as well.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely proud of him. And I was actually with him both of those times. So that Sunday night, I actually filmed that video.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that Sunday night we went out, and because there's not a whole lot of black people in Albuquerque, and that's part of the cause. Is the whole cause is to stand up for for Black people and minorities that don't get treated fairly sometimes. And I was driving through downtown or near downtown. And I called John. I was like, man, there's not really any Black people down here. We should come down here and represent. Or we both decided. He said, come pick me up. So we went down there to show support, and we got down there, and there was a lot of negative things going on, and we didn't like that. And John stepped up and took those cans, and it was pretty cool to watch. And because it could have been a dangerous situation for us, but it was the right thing to do.
Did he take more cans away before you hit record and then more after you turned it off, or did it continue on?
That was so we were after that group, and we had already encountered them once, and then then we knew it was going to kind of be an issue. So but after that we flagged down a news van, and John got on the news, and it's like, if you have ill thoughts, if you're going out tonight and have ill thoughts, just stay home. Tell your family members, tell your nephews, your sons, stay home if they're going out to cause trouble tonight, because it definitely takes away from the impact of everything. It takes away having people riot and loot and destroy cities when that's not the message that we need to get across.
100%, especially when guys like you and John Jones are demanding to give over the spray cans. They're going to give over those damn spray cans. But
Absolutely.
I was telling other fighters this earlier, because what is happening right now, it may have divided the country at first in a lot of different ways, but I feel like at this point it's slowly bringing people to the same page. And yeah, it's not going to be a quick fix. And yes, it's not going to bring everybody on that page, but these conversations, they're important to have right now. In fact, they need to happen everywhere, right?
Absolutely. And with that being said, my corners, when we raised the fist afterwards, after my fight, that was my corner, Chad Smith. That was his idea. And because he feels strongly about the issue too. And we all look different. We're all, definitely different political stances even, and everything like that. And we were able to come together on that. And it was a really cool deal.
Aljamain Sterling and Alex Caceres had both been very vocal throughout the week and after their fights. And Alex had told some stories during the virtual media day that blew a lot of people away about him being racially profiled, unfairly treated because of the way he looks. Have you been in a position where that's happened to you before?
I have, not as much as a lot of people. I'm lighter skinned, but coming from South Dakota, there's not. Growing up there, I grew up in a smaller town. There's not a whole lot of color, so I was kind of already used to being looked at as a little different. Sometimes I didn't even know it, but I have had issues with the police, and a situation where I was driving my buddy's car because he couldn't drive. He was, had some drinks and stuff, and we were 16, 17 years old. And I hadn't drank. I didn't have anything on me. And the cops pulled us over. I was speeding, and he found my buddy had some paraphernalia stuff on him, and I had no idea about it, nothing like that. And the cop actually tried to blame it all on me and try to give my friend an out. So like after that, I kind of realized that things might be a little different for some people.
What happened there? Did your friend had your back, I assume, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that friend was in my wedding, it's just, years later, he was in my wedding. But yeah, he had my back, and it's like, no, man, it's my stuff. And yeah, so it was definitely thankful for him, owning up to it and not taking that out that the cop gave him, and yeah.
In regards to the UFC, the promotion you fight for, the biggest organization in the world, there's a couple of questions that have been out there. One was asked to both Alex and Aljo and were answered by both of those guys. The other, I haven't really seen much of it. So we'll start with the latter. Thus far, while other sports and organizations have done so, the UFC has yet to put out a statement on the company's stance on this topic, it's pretty surprising to me at this point. Like, they did honor George Floyd during the May 30th event, but they haven't released an actual statement when it comes to this situation. Like, how do you react to that? I feel that's kind of weird.
I don't know what direction they're trying to go with it, but I'm kind of all right with it right now, and I don't think it says one thing or another because they allowed me to do what I did and allow us to voice our opinions on it without getting in trouble for it, which is super huge. And you look at what happened to the NFL and Kaepernick and stuff like that; they didn't support him, and so for me to be able to do that, I take that as support.
That's a very good point right there. And the other question is that both those gentlemen answered is, how do you feel the UFC is doing in regards to promoting their minority fighters? Like, what have you seen, and what do you think they could do better? Because maybe they just don't really know what they're doing. I don't know.
It's really hard to say because we've had some really good minority fighters, and some of them have been promoted at certain times, and others are kind of, they get a promotion for a little bit, and then it's kind of, they'll go with something else. So I definitely think it could be a little better. I don't know how. I haven't really thought about the details of it, but it could.
As a bald white man speaking, and I'd love to get your take on this. While I feel that these conversations are happening and they are at the forefront of our minds, I really do hope, Devin, that it doesn't just stop and fade away and then like come back when something terrible happens, because I feel that happens a lot, not just about this subject, but others too. Like the next big terrible thing happens, we focus on that, and the thing that happened before just fades away. What can you, me, the fighters, the rest of the country do to prevent that from happening?
I would say take a stance on it now. That's about all we can do, and keep fighting for it. And if you see it in public, and we got to start with ourselves too. And like I've said in other interviews, treat others how you want to be treated. If we start there, that'll change a lot of things. It'll change a lot of things. So if we keep going with that, it'll definitely start to get us in the right path. And it'll be a long time before the war on racism and stuff like that is over. So it's going to be a long road, but I have a feeling it's going to get better for sure.
There's obviously, the big context of this conversation is there's more important things than fighting right now. And right now is a perfect example of that. But one amazing accomplishment that has happened in your life, and you mentioned your wedding and having your friend in your wedding, is that you and your wife just celebrated anniversary number 2. Congratulations on that. 2 years
number
down. You're talking that.
We've been together over 13 years. What's that?
I was just going to say, you're talking to an 8-year vet right now. So especially this day and age, 2 years is a big deal.
Yeah, 2 years, but we've been together for over 13 years since we were in high school. So it's been a fun road, and she does really good at supporting me. I mean, it's been a long road. This MMA and UFC stuff, and at times it hasn't always been definitely not easy. So I just thank her for supporting me.
Yeah, because especially in this sport, finding somebody who understands the life of a fighter and what you all have to go through, that is almost impossible to find. How crucial has that been to you to like have that pivotal piece of the puzzle? Huge.
I wouldn't be able to do it without her. And we have a 6-year-old daughter, and I leave town for my camps, and that's really so my wife's here at home working and taking care of our daughter, and that's a huge thing. And it's hard to repay, but she does it, and I love her for it.
There you go. Last thing before we let you go, and I appreciate the time very much. I know you got some healing up to do, some things to take care of before you fight again. But since you didn't get a chance to do a post-fight interview with Rogan or DC, they probably ask you what you want next. So what do you want next?
I want some camo shorts. No. I mean, camo shorts would be cool, but I'd like a top 15 guy for sure. That's just what I have my sights set on. I want to get into that top 15, looking for a bigger fight. And of course I'll take whoever they throw at me most of the time. So, just looking for the next one and string those W's together and keep climbing, keep getting better.
just have your father call Dana White and the matchmakers and get him on the phone, and you'll get a top 15 guy. I have a feeling that'll happen.
There we go.
Yeah. Amazing stuff, Devin. I mean, your dad may have gotten my performance bonus, but you were one of the big stars of the night without question, with everything you did in the octagon, the performance, how you overcame adversity to get a really tough victory. And I truly admire how you used the platform you had been given to the best of your ability. I thought you did an amazing job. So all the best to you. Heal up. Happy anniversary, and look forward to seeing what's next for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.